Hello, Stacy Blender Tutorials, and we're continuing a series on making a vanilla mob in Minecraft. This is the cave spider. We have our exaggerated textures, so it's just easier to see the orientations. And in this video, we're going to take care of creating the rig and skinning it. So we're just creating the deformation rig. We'll create controls in later videos. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is add my armature. So I'll add armature, and I'm going to call it spider cave rig. The armature data itself I'm going to call spider cave arm for the armature. Now what I'm going to do is go into edit mode. I'm going to set the tail to 32 pixels or units high. So what I'm doing is in the scene, I'm working with no units. I'm just treating one unit as 1 pixel, but we're going to have to scale this down later. It's just easier to work with the pixels for right now. So the cave spider fits in 1 block. So the leg is 16 textures long, or pixels long, but the whole spider will fit in a 1 block space. So it's going to be, so it's over 32 pixels long. So if I divide it by 32 to scale it down, that seems about right. So if I set this to be 32, then later it will become 0 to 1. So that 1 orientation will be a lot easier to work with. So let me turn my gimbal on for right now. And you'll see what I mean with the scaling later. So we'll probably fix the scaling at the end of this video. So here's our first bone. So I'll set it so that the x-axis is in the corresponds to the world direction. I believe this needs to be normal for the edit mode. So if y, x, and then z is pointing this way as if we just rotated it up. So we'll do it this way. We'll name this bone the root bone. And now what we'll do is we'll just duplicate it. And this will be the thorax. Or what I'm going to call it is body def. And actually, yeah, I'll do def for deformation. And I'll move the tail so that it is at the end of the body where the head starts. So that is just going to be at 3. So that's 3 along the x. Let me isolate this to see it more. Well, let's see, did I type in something wrong? Yeah, it's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be in the y. It's 3. So there it is. This is where the head is going to begin. So I'll just extrude. I'll extrude from this in the y direction. We'll extrude 8 for the head. And then we'll call this head def. And actually for the root, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off deformation. So for these, I'll have deformation turned on. And now I'll have to do the abdomen. I want to make sure this is parented. The thorax will be the main bone that we'll move it around with. So we'll keep the offset. And actually, so what I do is control bones, the way I set it up is that the control bones are the ones you actually touch, the ones who use the shape, not the shape keys, but the bone shapes. So I think I'll use 1 bone for the body and for the body control. So I'm going to go ahead and call this body control. This is a very simple rig, so let's do the same thing for the head. It'll just be head control, body control. Let me duplicate this, and this time the tail is going to go at the -12 for the thorax. Again, I want so that when it goes down, the x is in the positive. So I'm going to set this with a roll of 180 degrees. So you can see how the axes are orientated. You see, how does this work? This is normal. If I put it in local, yeah, so in local it's not the same. When you're in edit mode for the bones, in order for the axes to look right, you actually want it in normal for the gimbal. So this is where the thorax is, and we'll set this to, or not the thorax, the abdomen. So this is the abdomen control. Again, this is deformation. I'm going to set this to be a child of the thorax with keep offset so that they're orientated. No, actually, no, I don't want it orientated at the origin. I need to move it back 3 on the y-axis so that it will be aligned correctly at the joint. So if I unhide the spider and I set my armature so that it is in front, now you can see you want the joint to be at the abdomen. I need to bring this out a little bit to make up for that. There we go. Technically, this doesn't have to be at the end. It can be wherever you want. For the control shapes, it'd actually be easier if this was just went out to 1. So let me see. I don't think I'm going to worry about that too much. I'll just leave it the way it is. Now this is going to move the body. So all of these are in place, and I'm ready to do the legs. So for the legs, I will duplicate. I'll duplicate the head. Why not? Duplicate the head. I have this set up so that it snaps absolute to the grid. So I'm just holding Control for my snapping. I'll go into wireframe view so that I can see where the bend in the leg was that we made in the last video. And now, okay, it looks placed right. I want the X direction positive going down so that when we bend the leg downwards, it'll be a positive rotation. Just the way I want to set it up, so it's just the way I'm going to put it. This bone we will name as, we'll do this leg, let's do leg 1 upper dot R. Is this the right leg? Extrude this out to the end of the leg, and we will call this leg 1 lower dot R. And let's set up some constraints. So we'll set up this bone, and let's see, we need to go into pose mode. I'll set it for XYZ Euler. I'm going to lock all the rotation or locations so you can't move it. I'll call the scales so you can't scale it. And then I'll leave all of the rotations open. Actually, for this one, I'll leave it at the quaternion, just because you may be moving this one around a fair bit, and these are more well behaved algorithmically. And for this bone, I am going to do XY Euler because I'm going to turn off the X and the Y. You don't have to lock the location because it's connected. Then I'll lock the scale. And the one thing I'm not a fan of is before, when you lock these, they actually disappear from your gimbal. That is not the case anymore, which is disappointing, but it is what it is. And now I'll also add a bone constraint. So this will limit the rotation. So I'm going to limit the X from 0 to 90. And this is going to have it affect the transformation, and this will be in local space. So now I can only move it like this. And that is because the skinning of our leg will break if we go more than 90. And you could let it go more than 90 if you wanted. I'm just going to cap it at 90. Okay, so I think that's about it. Yep, yeah, that's it. So we'll go back to edit mode, grab these, and I'm going to duplicate this, move it down 1, down 1, and down 1 for all 4 legs. So it's going to be more convenient to lay it out this way. I tried looking at the model in Minecraft the best I could, and it seemed like the legs were bunched together. They were just spread out. So this is the rest pose that I'm going to go for. So now just naming all of our bones. So this will be leg 2 upper dot R. This will be leg 2 lower dot R. Leg 3, so just renaming all of these. or really some projects have a lot of repetition like this in rigging, in which case you'd want to make scripts to do it for you. In our case, it's faster just to do it this way. It's not like we're doing bird feather controls. Okay, so we have these. We go into pose mode. We'll see that they're all set up. All these are deformation bones. We'll select all of these. We'll go into edit mode. And then I'll go to armature. Let's see, which one was it? Is it transform? No, it was one of these. Oh, it was one of these. Which one was it? It's the mirror feature. Oh, duh, it's under the mirror. So we'll do it across the global y-axis. Not around the y-axis. Did this just the other day. I'm trying to remember which way it goes. And actually what I want to do is set this to go back to 3D cursor, which is in the middle. Now I'll do mirror x global. Wow. Oh, this isn't working out too well. Okay, I thought this was supposed to group it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that in the past that duplicated it. That's weird. I thought it duplicated it. Well, we're just going to have to do this then. We have to rename it too. Yeah, we're going to have to rename it too. That is so weird. Just the other day, I used that. It must be a glitch or something, because I did that just the other day and it worked fine. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I'm going to have to change all of these to .r so they work, or .l so they work correctly. But yeah, just the other day I did the mirror, so earlier I was working and I had a glitch where the gimbal just disappeared. I had to save and reload before I could see the gimbal again. It wasn't just a setting that I played with, the gimbal really was just gone. So I've had quite a bit of success with the stability of 2.93 or 2.92. This is the first day in over a week working with it that I've had any issues. So that's weird and unfortunate, but whatever. Okay, so those are all of my deformation bones. And actually for these, I don't have deformation or control on these. I think I might, let's see. Yeah, I think what I'll end up doing is that these will be controlled with control bones. So technically I could have called these def, but I'm just going to leave them the way they are. This is too simple to spend too much time on. So okay, now what I can do is take my mesh and I'll parent it with empty groups. So when I go into my mesh, you can see that now I have all of these vertex groups for everything. So I can select all of the body. I can assign it to the body control. I could do the same thing, not to the body control. Wow. Wow, no, not to the body. Remove it from the body. Add these to the head. These get added to the body. These can get added to the abdomen control. Now for the tedious part, I have to add all of these to the legs. So first let me duplicate the legs. Now this is weird the way the Minecraft meshing works for this. It literally just moves the legs over. Why is that not even working? Wow, the absolute grid. I might have to restart. This is not behaving very well for me right now. Something must have went wrong under the hood. Let's do a selection to grid. That is really weird. Okay, so anyway, now we have all of our geometry in. And now I can start skinning. So I'll select this. I'll deselect shift box select to deselect those. I'll add these to the leg one upper.r. I'll deselect the upper. And wait a minute. Okay. Need to turn that on so I can see through everything. Let me just make sure I'll remove everything from those. Box select those, assign it. And I'll deselect those. Assign these to the lower. So we're going to have to do that for each one. Select it, deselect those, assign it to leg 2 upper. Select the rest of it, deselect the upper part, and assign these to the lower. Yeah, this is a bit tedious. This is just the way it goes with rigging. Some of the things can take a while. Assign it to the upper, select the rest of the leg, select the upper, assign it to the lower. You'll notice I'm assigning just 0 or 1 weights on these. That's just because the way I'm going to set this up. I'll add a driver, a shape key, the drivers for the leg bins later. This is just the way so I'm just skinning it with basically binary skinning. So it'll be on or off. So this is the upper, assign, select the rest, deselect, assign it. To upper, select the rest of it, deselect the upper, assign the lower. Assign the rest, deselect those, assign it. It's just tedious. It's just the way rigging goes. Okay, now if we did this right, when we go into pose mode, the leg moves around. So what we'll do is we'll just test each one just to make sure it moves the way it should. It's looking good. Okay, now I believe the way we had these set up is that this bone is a child of the body. So we actually don't want it to be a child of the body because I'm going to have, so what I want to do is I want to have an animation layer. So I want to have a layer of bones that are animated with an action for the spider's walk cycle. And then what I'll do is I'll have the, no, I won't have them parented. What I'll do is I'll have the animation bones also children of the body. And then based upon a driver, I'll turn on copy rotation constraints on this bone to make it follow along with the animated bone. So you can turn that on and off. And the reason why I would set it up that way is so that you're still able to animate and pose your non-animated version, and then you'll be able to smoothly transition the slider between your animation and the walk cycle. I'll probably do that for all the legs together. It shouldn't be too heavy, and I think the usability will be really nice since you're going to basically want to do the same animation anytime you're making the spider walk. So I'll add all the control rigging later. For now, we're just going to work on the deformation, which we're almost done. And again, and actually I might add those, I'll add those animation bones now. We just won't do anything with them. Okay. All right, I see an issue here. That's because I have that turned on, and because I haven't locked the location or the scale on this bone. Set this back to the 3D cursor. There, now it's working. Just check all of these. Turn the scale off here. Quaternion. I think that is about it. All of these have the same constraints already set up, which is why we did it before we duplicated them. I'll turn off scale on the the body, the thorax, just because I'll leave the scale up to the root bone. So the root bone can scale the whole thing, and so I'll leave it to that. And okay. What I'm going to do now is in edit mode, I'm going to duplicate all of these. So what I've done is now I have all these extra bones. Right here. So what I can do is rename these. I'll do leg 1, and I'll name these MCH for mechanism. So leg 1 mechanism right. Leg 2 mechanism dot right. Leg 3 mechanism dot right. 4 mechanism dot right. Mechanism dot left. Mechanism dot left. Let me copy this. Okay, now in these leg bones, I'm just going to turn off deformation for these. Because these are not going to actually be deforming the character in any way. So if I'd added these before, by turning off the deformation, you'll notice that it didn't add the root bone as an empty vertex group in the spider mesh. And that's why. It's because we had it marked so that it wasn't a deformation bone. Now, I'll worry about implementing the animation controls later. Just for right now, just note that they're not doing anything. You can see that they don't actually do anything, and we'll end up hiding them, setting them up on their own layer. We'll set all of that up later. So let's see, I think I'll call this quits for right now. So this is the skinning section. I ended up adding those animation bones. We'll worry about doing the shapes later. What I'm going to do is one last thing. We'll scale this down. So what we'll do is we'll scale this down so it's 1 block high, or 1 meter. So we'll scale it down to here. So that looks that look about right? Actually looks a little bit small. So what I have is I have a reference, some reference images of some spiders. Let's see, these aren't on the block though. You can see a block here. So the body is about a block long. So let's see, so that would be about here. Actually, no, it wouldn't, because, yeah, actually, no, that would not be, because technically this is one block, and it actually doesn't look too far off. Yeah, it looks like it might be bigger than this. I'll have to look a little bit closer. I'll pull open the game. I'll look a little bit closer at how big it is in scale, and then we'll set that in the next one. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.